just a quick refresher for anyone that's not familiar with stormwater pollution. Stormwater pollution is a threat to the health of the James River. When it rains or snows, rain and snow falling on impervious surfaces can run off, and when it runs off of surfaces like roads and sidewalks, it can become stormwater pollution, carrying sediment, dirt, nutrients from lawn fertilizers, bacteria from pet waste, and toxics from oil, like toxics from cars that can be carried into streams and rivers, creating stormwater pollution. And the purpose of the Greening Richmond Public Libraries initiative is to capture as much stormwater pollution on library grounds by installing green infrastructure. So what is green infrastructure? Green infrastructure practices
You're muted, Justin. There you go.
Apologies. The green infrastructure practices include rain gardens, green roofs, and street trees that enhance our built environment for the benefit of humans and the ecosystem of which we are a part. Green infrastructure contributes to healthier communities by absorbing stormwater before it enters our rivers and streams, improving air quality, and reducing the urban heat island effect. It also provides habitat for the wildlife living among us. Applicable green infrastructure practices at North Avenue Branch Library include the installation of bioretention areas, also known as rain gardens, street trees, filter strips, which can absorb stormwater runoff before it reaches an impervious surface like a street, as well as conservation landscaping. And the photos in this slide are from the Westover Hills Branch Library project last year. You'll notice that volunteers are planting native plants there on the library grounds. You can also see a rain garden right over here. And this rain garden is intended to absorb stormwater coming off of the library's roof. You also notice in this slide some street trees along Westover Hills Boulevard, as well as a filter strip right here between the sidewalk and Westover Hills Boulevard. So just some applicable green infrastructure practices that could be installed at North Avenue Branch Library. Before we move into the virtual tour of the library grounds, this is the site plan of the library. You'll notice that there's a large impervious asphalt parking area up here. And the library is surrounded by a public alley, East Essex Street, as well as North Avenue. All right, so here we are at the main entrance to the library. This is where visitors enter the library and exit the library. This is also the primary location where a visitor who uses a vehicle to get to the library would park their vehicle. You'll notice that the parking area is large, and you may notice that there aren't a lot of trees. And like I said earlier, trees could help absorb stormwater, improve air quality, and also reduce the urban heat island effect. Recently, there were 3 eastern redbuds that were installed at the northern edge of the library parking area. And there's a photo of one of the young redbuds that were installed there. So some good things are happening there, but there's still a lot of opportunity there to maybe install some trees in the parking area. So this is another view of the main entrance. You'll notice that there are beds in front of the library, and those beds largely consist of non-native plant species. We'll talk about that a little later. As you enter the library, if you look to the right, you'll notice that there's a bicycle rack here, which is wonderful. And this gives you another perspective on the beds there at the front of the library. This is a view to the left of the entrance to the library, the book deposit box right here. Just to give you all an idea of what we discussed at the in-person charrette yesterday evening, some participants suggested that this area could become an outdoor seating area. So we saw some potential for outdoor seating in this area right here. So we're moving clockwise around the library. We're moving towards the alley of the library. And so right here, you can see the entrance to the library over here. This is the corner of the library, and this is the alley right here. You'll notice that we've got some liripe, crepe myrtle, and some other shrubs here. And as you walk down the alley, vegetation becomes grass. This is the view of the corner of the library where the alley meets East Essex Street. So this is if you enter the library, this is the back side of the library, which faces East Essex Street. This is an area that Drew has identified as having great potential for the installation of a bioretention area. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. This is another view of the backside of the library along East Essex Street. You'll notice this wide strip of grass between the sidewalk and East Essex Street. There's some potential here to maybe do some conservation landscaping or other green infrastructure practice. I'm going to point you in the direction of this window right here and zoom in on that. We see this as an opportunity to do something unique, as it provides visual access from the interior of the library to the outdoors. Currently, we have 4 Nandina bushes. They're non-native. Participants at the in-person charrette yesterday evening suggested that this could become an educational garden space with visual access from the indoors. A pretty neat idea. I'll also point out that the library doesn't have gutters on it, and this is a splash pad. So any water that falls on the library's roof drains down to this splash pad. And again, this area right here, Drew has identified as a potential for a bioretention area. So moving around the library, here is where East Essex Street meets North Avenue. And this photo provides you with another view of the existing conditions along East Essex Street. As we look at North Avenue, you'll notice that we've got another planter bed here with shrubs and juniper, creeping juniper in it. We also have these tree wells, 1, 2, 3, 4, these old tree wells that no longer have trees in them. And so I want to direct your attention to this area as a potential for the installation of green infrastructure. There are also, I think there are 2 additional tree wells down here as we work our way back towards the large parking area at the main entrance of the library. And that's another view of the tree wells. So one thing that Amber, Drew, and I noticed as we were preparing for the charrettes was that virtually all the plants on the library grounds right now are non-native, meaning they are not, they don't grow naturally in the Richmond region. And non-native plants include crepe myrtles, Chinese holly, Japanese barberry, liripe, nandina, and wing euonymus. So we see an opportunity to replace some non-native plants that are currently on the library grounds with native plants that provide this better ecosystem services and habitat for native wildlife. This is just another view of the plants. So in the foreground here, you have liripe, you've got a crepe myrtle, nandina right here, and what appears to be some Chinese holly right there. And then, of course, Ripple the otter. So in summary, we've got a large impervious asphalt parking area with no shade trees at the main entrance of the library. There are opportunities for outdoor seating areas for library visitors. The preferred location of the bioretention area is along East Essex Street. The library window facing East Essex Street presents an opportunity for a unique garden installation. Empty tree wells are opportunities to plant trees along North Avenue.
Okay, I'm on.
And current landscaping consists of non-native plant species.